Good afternoon, everyone. It's actually not morning and I'm doing a Facebook Live. I bet you guys are proud of me because I am such a morning person, and each hour that goes by during the day, I become less of me. I am such the morning person. But anyway, today is Thursday, and on Thursday, I am trying to bring you a tip every Thursday, kind of based on my product of the week. At least this week, it is based on my product of the week. And my product of the week is the Puzzle Pieces Thinlits, or the Love You to Pieces bundle. And I think you guys are really going to enjoy my tips today. I'm going to show you how you can make the puzzles larger. So I think that's really cool because it opens up more things that we can do with our puzzle pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the camera around and I'm going to show you some of the samples that I've made, and then I'm going to show you how you can create them. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to turn the camera around. Okay. All right, we've kind of got an overcast day right now, but it's actually nice and warm out there. Let me just get this set up. Move this over just a wee bit. Up top here is my blog address in case any of you want to subscribe to my blog and get regular feed about when I'm having different things going on. It will also allow you to get my blog posts regularly, so that's kind of cool. So here are the cards that I want to show you today. The first one is this card where I've made the puzzle larger. So this is really cool because you can take the regular 16-piece die, and by alternating the pieces you can turn it into a 24-piece layer. This one, you've kind of got the puzzle pieces adjoining and you can make them as large as you want. And then finally, I'm actually going to take a piece and make it into a 24-piece puzzle. So this is kind of neat if you have a designer series paper piece or a photo you want to turn into an actual puzzle. You can do that by just cutting twice, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So let's start off with the very first card. And it's this one right here. So to create this longer piece, this checkerboard piece, you're going to need your Big Shot. And I guess I should explain what the product that I'm using. It's the Love You to Pieces bundle, and it comes with the stamp set and the Puzzle Pieces Thinlits die. And this is great if you're in the US. This bundle costs under $40, so that's kind of cool. And there's a whole bunch of different things you can do with it. So I'm going to show you how to make this card right here. And so I'm going to take the die, the biggest die, which cuts 16 pieces. And I've got two pieces of cardstock, one in black and one in white, and I'm going to cut these just like I would normally do. I've got my magnetic platform, I've got a cutting plate down. I like to cut this on an angle. It doesn't matter if this is centered. I've just cut my piece a little bit larger than the actual die, and I'm just going to run this through. And then you're going to need like a little container or something to contain all the puzzle pieces. So I've just got a little box here. So I just want all my little puzzle pieces in here because we're going to alternate them into a checkerboard. So I need to make sure I collect all of them and don't lose any of them. We're going to end up with a few extra pieces. So just do the black one now, again on an angle because it cuts easier. Doesn't make that big clunking noise. And then we're going to come in. I'm going to pop all these pieces in here as well. And I think I lost one underneath here. Okay, and then you can throw away the frame, or you can use the frame to make something else. Let me set this aside for a moment. Okay, we've got all the puzzle pieces here. And the easiest way I have found to adhere the puzzle pieces is if you take a piece to glue it to, because otherwise you're going to be gluing it right to the card, and then it's really hard to get that layer straight. So the way to get it straight when you're piecing things together is to have a backing layer. And so this layer is going to be just a little bit smaller than the actual puzzle will be, and that way you don't have to do any trimming afterwards. This piece is 5 1/8 inches by 3 3/8 inches. I'm going to show you quickly just how to do a little bit of the piecing together. So what I like to do for this is take some tombow, and I'm just going to put a little bit in a line right up at the top. And you always have to start with a corner piece. So I'll start with black. And I'm going to line this up pretty close to the edge. You don't want any white showing up at the top there. Then you're going to find a white edge piece puzzle that fits. The great thing about this die is that these pieces are interchangeable. And the person who created it, I'm thanking them right now, because they were smart enough to realize that this would hopefully keep us really creative. See how I'm piecing them together, and it doesn't matter if it was a piece that was down here originally, or if it was here originally or here, it still fits together. So that's the cool thing, and that's what's going to allow you to create a multicolored background. You could even do this with 3 different pieces. So now I just need to find the next one. And even if this is going a little bit crooked, that's okay, because in the end, I made the piece a little bit smaller than the original piece. Then let me just do the corner piece real quick. Okay, and then when you get to that end, you can just go ahead and start again. I'll just do a little bit more. But normally I would run another glue bead right to the end, and then just take a white. You're just creating a checkerboard. So I'm just sliding in and making sure that seam is nice and solid, and then taking my black piece and sliding it in. And then you would continue to do that for the rest of the pieces to create your checkerboard puzzle. So I'll show you what that ends up looking like. It ends up looking like this. Turn it around. So you can see you've got this piece. Now it's no longer a 16 piece, it's actually 24 pieces together. And it's a nice kind of different sort of layer. So you can add this to a card base, and I've got a Berry Burst card base here, which is 11 inches by 4 1/4 inches and scored in half at the 5 1/2 inch mark. And you can take it, oh, before I do, see how my backing layer is just a little bit smaller than my front layer? You can just see the puzzle peeking out, and that way you won't have to trim it later on. If you created a bigger backing piece, that's okay too. You could trim it with scissors, but this way I know it's just going to be just a little bit inside of the piece. So then I just take some tombow, put it on the back here, and I'm just going to add this. There's going to be the same amount of Berry Burst peeking out on the top, the side, and the bottom. I'm just going to add that on here. Earlier, I stamped "You Are My Missing Piece" on a piece of Whisper White, and I cut it out with a 2-inch circle punch, and then I layered it onto one of my scallop circles from the Layering Circles Framelits. So I can just take that now and adhere that to the front of my card, just about there. And then I tied a little bow with the Berry Burst metallic edge ribbon, and I'm just going to take a little glue dot and add that to my card right here, like that. And so that is one sample of creating a larger puzzle, alternating pieces. So for now, for this card, I kind of did something similar. And the great thing about these puzzle piece Thinlits, this piece right here, this piece locks into itself perfectly. So it's really cool. I won't show you how to cut it, but it's basically the same thing. You would stamp, there's these 2 stamps, the Love You and the 2 pieces. and I just stamped those and cut them out with this die. And I cut some extra Whisper White pieces out with that same die. And so now we can piece them together on a layer. So I've got a piece of basic black here, and I've cut this piece. Let me just double check my measurements. This is 4.5 inches by 3.25 inches. So because these can interlock in whatever way you want, you can create like a bigger puzzle. So what I would do in this case, I would take my pieces and I'm going to piece them together on here and make sure I like how they look. So I'm going to take 3 of the white pieces, and you notice I don't have any hearts stamped on here yet, so I'm going to do that afterwards. So I'm going to lay this out like I want it. It just takes a little second to kind of get it exactly the way. I want to make sure when I'm positioning this that I have the same amount of cardstock peeking through on all of the sides. So that's why I take a little bit of time to align it. Now how I glue this one together, I'll start off with the love you. Leave my piece right there beside it so I know where to adhere it. And I'm going to put some tombow on the back of this. By the way, I didn't mention this, but let me scoot this down just a bit. I embossed this layer of black with the subtle embossing folder. I'll show you that in a second. Hold it up to the camera, but it creates a textured layer, so that's kind of cool. So now I'm going to come in, grab my next piece. Now that I have my starting piece, everything will lock into place. See how nicely this locks into place? And that is the cool thing about this puzzle, is that someone actually thought about how we could use it. We can use it randomly. In fact, yesterday I was loading up some of my cards onto a gallery, and I realized that I was like the only one trying to make perfect little puzzles. So I have to think about this being a little bit more random as well. But I'm glad that I'm doing it this way, because I know there's other people that will want to actually piece their puzzles together as well. And it's neat that I'm showing a different way to use it. But I'm like, oh, I could have done a little bit more of a randomized thing as well. But it's nice. Look how nicely this fits together. So you can just keep going. And I'm trying to be a little bit irregular by leaving a piece off here, but you could put a piece there as well. Then I'm going to take the little hearts that come with the Love You to Pieces stamp set. I'll take my Berry Burst ink pad. Okay. And I'm going to just stamp some hearts, very gentle touch, and I'm just going to stamp hearts kind of going over top of my puzzle pieces. This is a very random pattern, so don't worry if you're not stamping exactly the same way as I do, but just to kind of break up the white a little bit, it looks nice to have some hearts, because those hearts are the same as in this last piece. You see the little white hearts? They're the same size and shape as these hearts. So that adds just a nice little touch. So then you can take this piece. You're going to need a little white piece to go behind the black piece. And this piece right here is 4 3/4 by 3.5. I'm just going to lift this up and show you the back side. I don't know if you can get a good sense because this is black, but I ran this through with a subtle embossing folder, so it has kind of a textured feel to it. I love that. We can do that now in any of our Stampin' Up! Colors, and it's quick and easy. So I'm going to go ahead and put some tombow on the back of this layer and add it to my Whisper White layer. And then I've got the same card base as I did for my first card. It's 11 inches by 4 1/4 inches and scored in half at the 5.5 inch mark. If while you're watching this, you have any questions that you want me to answer, I'll see if I can answer them. So please type ahead, even though I'm not interacting right now. I'm going to make sure I go back and read all the comments before I end the video so I can answer them live. So I'm going to put some tombow on the back of this now. And just add this to the front. Make sure my card's opening the right way. Normally I don't do this kind of opening. It's a little bit different, but I actually wanted to wrap my ribbon around this way. So I thought, hey, let's do a little different opening. I'm going to take some of this Berry Burst Metallic Edge ribbon and add it to this card. Notice how my two cards are very similar with the colors and everything, so it makes a nice little grouping. I'm going to cut off enough to tie around. And you guys all know I love to use locking tweezers. And every time I use them, I get asked, where can I get locking tweezers? I got mine at a craft store. So what I do with the locking tweezers is I tie a knot first. And then I bring in my locking tweezers to hold down that first knot. And then I come in. See, now I don't have to hold that at all, right? Then I can come in and tie a second knot. I got my locking tweezers in the beading section of a craft store. It was with a set of 4 tweezers. I've also seen them now in a set of 3. You can also get them on Amazon. So I think if you just look for locking tweezers, those are the ones that you want to get, the ones that lock. So, and that is just how I finish off that card. That's pretty easy, huh? With the puzzle piecing. Okay, so finally, this morning, the reason I'm doing this in the afternoon and not in the morning like I would normally would is I actually created a 24-piece puzzle without piecing puzzles together. So with this one here, I took 2 separate puzzles and pieced them together, but this would not work if you have a photo, if you have a piece of designer series paper, because then it would be all jumbled up, right? It wouldn't look good. You can use this technique with solid colors. You can't so much when it comes down to a piece of designer series paper. This is all one piece of designer series paper. So how did I do that? Well, I'm going to show you. You can also use this with a photo, or you can also do it with cardstock. If you wanted to stamp your own image, you would cut a piece of cardstock to the spec that I tell you, and then you would cut it afterwards. So you can do that as well. But I'm going to show you how to do it with designer series paper so I don't have to spend a lot of time stamping. So you're going to need 3 things for that if you're using designer series paper. Let's talk about these 2 layers first. So for creating a larger piece, a larger puzzle, which will be a 24-piece, you're going to need a piece of cardstock or designer series paper that measures 5 1/4 by 3 1/2. You're also going to need a piece to back it up. This tea room specialty paper is really thin, but even if you use regular designer series paper, it will be a good idea to back it up because it makes piecing everything back together a little easier, because this is a little flimsy, so it'll be a little harder to piece. So to do that, I'm going to adhere with a piece of the multi-purpose adhesive sheet, and I've cut this piece just a little bit smaller than these 2 layers. I've cut it to 5 1/8 by 3 1/2. This is just so if I get it a little bit crooked, none of this adhesive is hanging off the edge. So the only trick with starting this is actually starting it right on the edge. Okay, so you just need to get a corner peeled off, and then you peel off the backing. And I'm going to always stick it to the cardstock, not to the designer series paper, because the cardstock is solid and it's not going to lift up or anything like that, whereas this could somehow stick to the paper and it's just harder to work with. So put it on the cardstock first. I'm going to try and center it. rub it on there, make sure it's actually on there really well, and then you're going to peel it off. Okay, then you're going to take your piece of designer series paper and you want to try and get it as centered as possible on here. And then smooth it down. Now you're going to need your Big Shot, and here's the tricky part. It's not really that tricky. I'm going to move my thing out of the way. I'm going to turn this on a diagonal just a little bit. So I'm using my magnetic platform. I'm going to grab my puzzle again, put one of my cutting plates down. So for the first run through, I'm going to make sure my edge lines up all the way on this side. Here, let me show you. I'm going to cut this side of the puzzle first. You want to make sure the edge of your puzzle piece lines up right with the edge of the cardstock perfectly, okay? This second cutting plate is not going to go on like it normally does. You can either slide it through here. You can slide it through one way or another. You can either bring it through here or you can bring it through here. But what you need to do is only cut up, only put the edge of the plate up to right here, not right covering the edge. See right here where the edge is? My cutting plate is a little bit over from that. It's right down the center of this last piece, okay? So this cutting edge can't be cut, otherwise it won't work. So you want to make sure, just make sure this is still straight. You want to make sure that your cutting plate is not coming to the edge. It's about half an inch from the edge. So you're going to go ahead and cut this through. Because I'm cutting it through straight this time, it's going to make that clunky noise, but that's okay. So I'm going to bring this through, and this has cut part of my puzzle. So you see it's cut the first half of the puzzle. And now I'm going to need a piece. I'm going to use the back of my framelits here, and I'm just going to remove my pieces. It's nice if you can kind of keep them together, and that way you don't have to try and piece them together. This little piece I'm just going to tear off. Then I'm going to take this second piece, and where's my Thinlit gone? It's stuck to the bottom of here. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to piece it over here on this side. So this time I'm going to actually run it through in the reverse direction. So I'm just making sure that these pieces line up really well, and then I'm going to put it down on my cutting plate. I shifted, so make sure you line it up again on your cutting plate. This is the only tricky part. If you want to, you could actually, I keep shifting it, you could use some washi tape if you wanted to make sure that it's right there and not moving. And I'm just going to put my cutting plate on top carefully. I just shifted again. This went so much smoother when I didn't have an audience. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to run it through. And now I've got the second half of the puzzle cut. This piece is just a tiny bit bigger. And if I bring in this puzzle piece and this puzzle piece, and hopefully I can just ease this out like that. And now I can bring it back together. So this could actually be its own little puzzle. Let me move my Big Shot out of the way. this could actually be its own little puzzle. You could take this apart and put it back together again. So it's really cool. You have your own little puzzle. If you do this with a photo, wouldn't that be fun? If you want to actually adhere this to a card though, like I've done, I'm going to show you how I do that. So since I was able to get it out nice in one solid piece, I don't want to mess that up, and I don't want to have to piece it together on a card, and I don't want to have to put adhesive on a card only to find out that I've got it crooked or I can't move the piece. So here's what I do. I take another flat surface, so I'm just going to use my stamp set case, and I'm going to flip this over to the back. Okay, so now I've got my puzzle all ready. If you want to remove some of the pieces of the puzzle so it's not complete, you can do that at this point too. So now I'm just going to add tombow to the back of the puzzle. Make sure I hit every piece. Okay, I think I've got every piece, maybe not this one very well. And then I'm going to take a piece of cardstock that is just a bit smaller than my puzzle. So this is 5 1/8 by 3 1/2. And I'm just going to add this to the back. Smooth this down. So now I've turned it into a background with a puzzle piece. So that's kind of cool. And then you can add it to the front of a card. So now that it's all one solid piece, you can actually center it exactly where you want on the card. Then the only thing I did to finish off this card was I tied some polka dot tulle around here. I slipped in a pearlized doily. I took 2 pieces. I cut some more puzzle pieces in Pool Party and Berry Burst, and I stamped them with, where is my puzzle piece? I stamped them with this flower right here, which I thought matched the specialty tea paper really nicely. And so they just have a very subtle pattern on them. And then I stamped down here, let's get together soon. And I thought that's kind of cool because 2 puzzle pieces, let's get together. I thought it was a kind of a good analogy for my greeting. The other thing I did is I tied the puzzle pieces up top here. I was thinking, how do I get these stuck up here and make it kind of special? So I just tied the end of the puzzle with the ribbon so it stayed on there. So I thought that was kind of a cool way that you can do different things to extend and make the puzzle pieces larger. Oh, one other thing. So where did I stick my little piece? I had one more sample here earlier that I have lost. Shoot. I like completely lost my sample. I had everything stuck out earlier. Huh. Okay, well, I did a sample with this one, and I covered the entire front with these puzzle pieces, and you can have a layer that is entirely encompassing of the front. I don't know where my piece went. Oh, I'm so sad that I don't have that to show you. Sometimes it's just, you do everything ahead of time, and then it's like just gone when you're looking for it. Okay, but it covers, you can do a piece where this covers the entire front of the cardstock. So I thought that was kind of cool too, that you could do that. You just don't have edge pieces and corner pieces when you use these larger dies. So, but those are some ways you can extend the puzzle pieces Thinlits and make them larger. If you enjoyed this tip, be sure to go to my blog and subscribe to my blog email list. My blog address is in the description of this video, so you can go there. And later on today, when I get this video loaded up, I will actually put a direct address where you can click on and subscribe. So I hope you will join me and do that. And thank you so much for watching. Let me see if there were any questions. No one has any questions. Well, that's good and bad. Let me flip around one more time. So if you do have questions, flip. If you do have any questions about the puzzle pieces Thinlits, please let me know. I have them here in house. I've been playing with them, and I can probably tell you what they can do and what they can't do. And it's been a really fun week. Yesterday I did a little puzzle box that holds 4 16-piece puzzles, which was really fun. And on Tuesday I did a puzzle card. And tomorrow I think I might have one more tutorial to do. I'll probably do a live for that. But anyway, it's been fun working with this bundle all this week, and I hope you guys will get it, because I see there's a lot of potential for fun things to do with it. All right, I hope to see you guys on another Facebook Live soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.